I was right. I love it when a plan comes together, and I love it when I'm right. When it comes to coaching, I'm not very often wrong. So I talked to you a couple days ago. It was a business lesson wrapped up in the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it was a business lesson wrapped up in the Los Angeles Lakers, the mess in La La Land, the mess in Toronto, the hockey capital of the world. And 48 hours later, I just got a message here. A guy I know, Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, has been fired. Like I said would happen in the next few days. He's the fall guy for another Toronto Maple Leaf dismal failure. He's the easy guy. The year before, they fired the architect, the general manager, anybody and everybody but the core players. Everybody and anybody but the corporate ownership group. So success in a business, of course, top down, but it's so much easier to fire a head coach, a guy you can walk away from, you can put the blame on him, bring in another head coach, and chase a Stanley Cup for the 57th year. The Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a Stanley Cup since before I was born. I'm 55 years young. They haven't won a cup since the year before I was born in 1967. That, my friend, is business futility. That is recruiting futility. That is drafting futility. That is ownership futility. So, Sheldon Keefe, who's a tremendous coach, he's got an amazing regular season record. He only won one playoff series. He takes the fall. Are you fucking kidding me? Gandhi couldn't motivate that locker room. Gandhi himself couldn't motivate those 5 core players that make over 55% of the money. The team is built ass backwards. It's built wrong. It's top heavy. You have no chance to win. The ownership is a corporation that doesn't know a puck from a fucking football, and Sheldon Keefe takes the fall. Here's my advice to Sheldon. I was fired in minor pro hockey years and years ago. I had a 3-year contract. Sheldon now has a 2-year, 2.5 plus American contract, coaching contract that's going to kick in, that he now will not have to fulfill because he's been fired. So do what I do, Sheldon. Make these guys pay the piper. You've coached for the last 15 years at least. You owned your own team. You won 5 multiple championships in Tier 2 Junior A. You had a successful run in the Sioux. You won a AHL championship with the Marlies, and you've had to put your family through the hell of coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs over the last 5 years. You got 2 young kids. You got a beautiful wife. Take the next 2 years off. Make these sons of bitches pay you the $2.5 million for the next 2 years and go on a 2-year family vacation. What I would do is I would volunteer so I get paid every penny. The $5 million that Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment will have to pay you if you don't take another coaching job. Take at least a year, even better, 2 years off. Coach your kids, volunteer, and then after a year or two, decide your next coaching stop. But take the 2 years off, get paid the $5 million plus in full. Don't upend your life. Get yourself in great physical shape, emotional shape. Get yourself in great shape for a return to coaching if that's what you choose. But take these 2 years that they're going to pay you, that they don't want to pay you. They want you to take another coaching job because then that kicks in and this contract is null and void. So put it to them, Sheldon. Take a vacation. Move to Arizona where your wife is from. Stay in Toronto. Whatever you want to do. Coach your kids. But take the next 12 to 24 months to yourself. Get paid to stay at home. Volunteer. And relax a little bit. And get yourself refocused and re-energized to re-enter the brutal coaching world in the next 1 to 2 years. If you really want to do it well, which I would recommend for any pro coach that gets the pipe, if you want to dabble and stay on everybody's radar, get yourself on television. You live in Toronto, you can be on TSN. If you come to the States, you could be on ESPN. And being on there a couple nights a week, you get to be a mouthpiece for the next couple of years. Everybody sees you. And unlike coaching, you get to become part of the media where you can talk, and it really doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. That's what I'm in. You can just shoot your mouth off. You can, when you're right, when your predictions come true, you're a genius. When you make yourself, when your predictions aren't true, nobody remembers anyways. So you can become a media mouthpiece for the next 24 months. They'll pay you a little bit of money. It's where you live. You don't have the rigors of coaching. You can put on a nice suit every night. You can talk about other coaches, other players. And then when these coaching jobs come up over the next year to two, you're the guy who's on the radar because everybody sees you on ESPN or TSN. Or maybe you don't want to do any of that. You just want to stay home with your wife and kids and be a husband and a dad for the next year or two. Make them pay that contract out. Take that $5 million plus American. Have a 2-year family vacation. Have the time of your life and do what's best for Sheldon Keefe. So another train wreck, another dumpster fire, of course. Just a quick update here. I don't want to spend too much time on le victim or le blame. But I'll tell you, this stuff writes itself. The LA Lakers are another disaster. Country club in Toronto, country club in Los Angeles. You have a guy, LeBron James, who is decimating your franchise. You have to remember, fans, he's on the way. He's just starting. He's just starting his 5-year retirement tour. Are you kidding me? This guy is going to do a 5-year retirement tour so that he can play with his son Bronny. He can put the final nails in the coffin in LA. Then he's going to try and suck ass his way into playing for the Knicks. That'll be the last one on the bucket list. So just watch Le Victim over the next few years. If he decides to return to the country club, the LA Lakers, it'll be totally on his terms. They're going to pay him $160 max. They're going to draft his kid who can barely play Division I ball. They're going to hire whoever he wants as coach. Is not really a coach. Could be Reddick. It could be another guy, but it'll be a hand-selected babysitter so that LeBron can coach the team. He can GM the team. He essentially owns the team. And then when he's done with that, if he does come back, as soon as I don't have the players, I don't have the coaches, I can't win in LA. Well, the final act, in my opinion, will be to jet off to New York, and they might be the franchise that falls for that. The Knicks have a good thing going after 20 years of dismal failure, but they have the ownership group like Toronto, like the LA Lakers, that just might fall for the act. So, he can pick up his bag in LA, whether it's this year, probably in a couple years, after he completely decimates the Lakers. And then his finishing retirement act can be to go to New York City and take what is now an amazing, amazing team, and he can do what he does best and make it all worse. And literally put the franchise back in the dark days where it was a couple of years ago. And then it should be time, by the time he's nearly 50, he's played with his kids, he's a billionaire, he's had the opportunity to trash America, to trash our history, to trash the game of basketball, and he's had enough of an impact where these young kids over the last 20 years are now all basketball victims. They're all basketball virtue signaling people. it's for me. How much can I make? How much guaranteed playing time? You see it all through high school. You see it all through college sports. Unfucking coachable. This is why if you're a basketball coach or you're a football coach now, you're doing the unthinkable. Okay, 10 years ago, you go to college, a guy like Nick Saban goes to Alabama because the kids are coachable. A guy like Coach K coaches in Duke and stays in Duke because the kids are coachable. Now everything is ass backwards, bass backwards, where, you know what? If I'm a football coach, I'm going to leave college where I can't coach, where it's all about entitlement, it's all laziness, it's all me, selfishness, and get the hell out of college and go to the NBA. That's saying something. The product is unwatchable. Compare the Stanley Cup playoffs, by the way, you know, the Florida Panthers versus the Boston Bruins, or the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Rangers, or the Vancouver Canucks versus the Edmonton Oilers, or Colorado, or any of these series. Compare that high testosterone, balls to the wall Stanley Cup playoffs with what you're seeing in the NBA. It's almost unwatchable. The first round was unwatchable. So if you're a college coach, a lot of coaches now are just saying, I can't deal with kids like this. They're all victims. They're all entitled. They're all me. And guys are literally jumping to the NFL, jumping back to the NBA, because believe it or not, it's easier for them to now coach a high-priced pro player. So if that's not a sign that the apocalypse is upon us, I don't know what is in Sports Illustrated terms. So, LeBron, like I said, he was going to get that fourth coach fired. He did. Now it's time for him to bring in another coach. Same thing went down in Toronto. And just sit back and enjoy the offseason with these dumpster fire teams. Same thing as in Toronto. It's the players in LA. They fire the coach. What is that, the third or fourth guy? Gandhi, Tony Robbins couldn't motivate those guys. Compare the players in places like Ottawa in the NHL and Toronto. Compare the character of those players with the character you see in the Florida Panthers locker room, or the Boston Bruins locker room, or the Colorado Avalanche locker room, or the Las Vegas hockey team's locker room. Just compare. Those guys are self-starters, they're cleaners, they're closers, they're champions. You know, even Sidney Crosby not being in the playoffs, just compare those great Pittsburgh championship teams. Going all the way back to the Oilers when Gretzky and Messier ruled the roost. Compare what you see in a locker room like in Minnesota, that young team in the NBA, or the Denver Nuggets last year, and even what the Knicks are building now. Compare the character in those locker rooms to what you see in LA, what you see in some of these other tomato can places. Are you kidding me? These championship teams, whether it's hockey, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, you know, compare the character you see in the Kansas City Chiefs locker room, or in, in one of these other title contending teams with what you see in these other also rants. Are you kidding me? It comes down to exactly what LeBron said at his conference when, he banked his 50 million, his 50 sheets. And the same with Austin Matthews. He makes 12 sheets. Marner makes at least 10 sheets. All these guys, they just pack it up as soon as they lose in the first round. And LeBron said it best a week ago. It's only basketball. It's only basketball. Gandhi couldn't motivate that guy on his farewell tour. Gandhi couldn't coach the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Ottawa Senators or the LA Lakers. Couldn't do it. Couldn't get them to motivate it. And compare that to what you've heard in the past from guys like, Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods and Joe Montana and Larry Bird and those old Piston teams, and what you've heard from guys like Kobe. Watching some of those videos that came up after LeBron, after they lost in the first round. You know, it's only basketball. I get paid $50 million a year, but it's only basketball. Don't worry about it. Compare that to Jordan. You know, I will fucking do anything to win. That was Michael Jordan. He said that in his documentary. I will do anything to win at any cost. And yes, I will cross the line. And then his teammates in Chicago in the documentary, they completely confirmed that yes, he was an ass to play with. He was a jerk to play with. He was relentless to play with. And it worked. 6 championship rings. And yes, he did cross the line. And like Jordan said in his documentary, if you're not willing to come up to his level, there's going to be a problem because he's going to drag your fucking ass across the goal line. If that's what it takes, he's going to pull your ass across the goal line. And that's why he won 6 straight championships. Same thing with Kobe. Kobe was talking in old videos about with the Lakers. He's like, if you don't compete with me, if you don't take me on, I'm going to wipe the floor with you. And that was the Black Mamba mentality, that state of mind that he went into. And he was like, if you don't compete, I'm going to humiliate you. I'm going to wipe the floor with you. I'm going to take you behind the woodshed and I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And that was, none of this, oh, it was basketball. But also Jordan and Kobe and Montana and Jerry Rice and Larry Bird and Tiger Woods. Those guys are no excuse guys. There's no whining, there's no complaining, there's no excuse making, like you see in Toronto, like you see with the Lakers, like you see with any losing culture. Those guys, it's like, well, you know, the referees and everybody gets up to play us and, you know, the expectations are pretty high and I don't have the supporting cast and we've had some injuries this year and we peaked too soon. The greats, are you kidding me? They take 100% accountability and responsibility for every result, and then they get busy getting better that day. If they do lose, if a guy like Jordan did lose, or a guy like Kobe lost, or a guy like Gretzky loses, their off-season starts the next day, building it back to give themselves a chance to compete for a championship again. Big, big difference. Winners aren't losers, and losers aren't winners. I'm sorry to see Sheldon go, but you know, Sheldon, for you and your family, greatest thing that ever happened to you in the long term, getting the hell away from that toxic rat poison, the Toronto Maple Leafs, getting away from that culture, getting back to your family, getting rejuvenated, getting refocused, and getting paid for the next 2 years. Same thing with the Lakers coach. Best thing that ever happened, getting away from that toxic, cancerous culture. And it's just the way it is. It all starts at the top. If you don't have a winning ownership or corporation, this is the kind of shit that goes on. All they do is reorganize the deck chairs on the Titanic. Fire Sheldon Keefe. We're gonna reorganize the deck chairs on the Titanic. Oh, we're gonna bring in LeBron's buddy, his buddy to coach. We're gonna draft his kid. Maybe we should bring in James Harden or somebody else to put a real big top on the circus. But regardless, let's make sure we reorganize the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. So crazy stuff. Listen, that's enough about that. Here is you can download a copy, by the way, of my brand new book for free. brassballsvideos.com. The link is below. And it's a 22-page book, ebook, digital book. You can print it off. You can read it on your phone. It's my 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days. Nothing loftier than that. It's the 5 ways to get your shit together in the next month. And we all need to get our shit together from time to time. This book below will help you do it. All you got to do is put in your email. There's nothing else to buy. You couldn't spend any money if you wanted to. You download the book. You put in your email. I'll email you the book within 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And you can read it. You can download it. You can share it. You can get your staff to read it, your adult children. I don't care. 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days. my gift to you, brassballsvideos.com. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.